Welcome to the Talk Sox podcast. I'm Alex, and as always, I'm joined by Maddie. What's going on?
Happy Monday. Yeah, going well. How's it going, Alex?
Pretty good. Just watched the weirdest 15 minutes in Red Sox baseball history, I think. I haven't seen a run score on a non-tag up flyout before, but here we are.
Um, in a couple of JV baseball games, I've seen that happen. Never at the major league level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I should have qualified it. That is something I very much expect from some of the high school teams around here, but not from the Boston Red Sox and Toronto Blue Jays. We are recording this on Monday, like Maddie just said. We're going into the bottom of the seventh, or it's pitch and change. It looks like here in the bottom of the seventh. It's been a weird 3 games.
Just over the weekend or currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously there was the massive victory Friday night. It was like 13-1. Sox lose Saturday and Sunday. It's the first time they've lost a series since the beginning of July. And it was to the A's, which, as I wrote in my weekend review, both A's series have been really, really like weird this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't put a ton of stock into it. The way I see it is that this team has built up enough goodwill that dropping a series is one, it's going to happen. They weren't going to win every series for the rest of the season. That's just not feasible. But it was just a really weird series. The coldest team in baseball met the hottest team in baseball, and the coldest team won.
That's just the nature of the sport. I was a little bummed because I think now we're at the point in the season where we're watching the standings, and the Braves were playing the Yankees this weekend,
Yeah.
and the Yankees ended up winning the series, taking 2-1. But still, that would have been nice to gain a little bit of ground in the race.
Yeah, the video from Friday night of them changing the wild card rankings when we tied with the Yankees and putting the Red Sox in first place, like that was really cool. That was a really cool moment. Sucks that it didn't stick, but we do get the Yankees coming up fairly soon. Can definitely make up some ground there. I don't expect this whole series against the Blue Jays to go like this game has gone. This has been one of the weirdest baseball games I've watched in quite some time. I think that's kind of putting it mildly. Obviously, like we just talked about, we had the 15-minute decision to award Siegler home after the official scoreboard in the back showed 2 outs, but there were only 1 out, and the entire Blue Jays team left the field. It was really weird. Like you said, so stuff that you see happen in high school baseball, stuff that you never expect to see happen in professional baseball. So we'll see. Unfortunately, game 2, we get Dylan Cease, who pitched just a gem of a game against the Red Sox a couple of weeks ago. Should have been a no-hitter, but Andruw Monasterio broke that up in the 7th. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We are right in the thick of it in terms of Red Sox baseball. They are playing 16 games over 16 days. They don't have a day off until next week. It's crazy, but that's the schedule makers, I suppose. Like we've done, with the exception of our live stream from last week, which was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to everybody who commented, who watched. I've had some people reach out that watched after we were live. They watched that next day. It was a lot of fun. Last year, we did a couple of live streams after the wild card games. I assume the plan is to do that again this year. And hopefully the Red Sox are hosting one of those wild card games. But like we've done for now the past 7 episodes, we are going to start this episode off with our Talk Sox forum questions. We've got 6 this time, so we've got some things to talk about. The first one is from Moonslab59. He said, whenever Story is called up, actually, I'm going to combine this with one of MVP's questions because they go hand in hand. So MVP says, will Story get back before the rosters expand on September 1st? And Moonslav says, whenever Story is called up, who will be better on defense at shortstop, Monasterio or Story? Let's tackle the call-up portion first, because I think that's important here. So MVP sets it as the expanded roster date of September 1st. If we think he'll be back before then, I think so, but not much. Like, we're talking the very end of August.
Yeah, I agree there. Unless some type of setback occurs, which that hasn't happened in the past. I mean, to Story's credit, I've said this before on here, he does manage to come back from his injuries pretty quickly.
He heals well.
Yeah, he heals well. I mean, he gets injured easily, but he heals.
Yes. So, yeah, I think the fact that he's not on a rehab assignment right now, obviously Story has more time in the majors than somebody like Romy Gonzalez, but Romy just got optioned back to AAA after not, starting playing baseball in June. He was with the Red Sox for like 2 or 3 games, got the call up, kind of was hot for those first couple of games, and has really just kind of been a shell of himself ever since. He was demoted to make room for Jake Rogers, who came over in the Adley Rutschman trade. So I don't see Story needing his full 20 days of a rehab assignment. The fact that he is not on the rehab assignment yet, though, I think we're probably looking at the middle of next week at the absolute earliest, and that's just me guessing. We don't know anything. I do think it's interesting that when Tracy is asked about the team injuries, nobody ever asked about Story specifically. They just let Tracy kind of bring it up. They ask about Roman and Crochet, obviously, but they just let kind of Tracy just talk about Story. So we don't really know kind of where Story's at, and we know that he's healing and he projects to be back. But if he's back before September 1st, I think it'll be a couple of days before at best, and it wouldn't shock me if they hold him out, and just so that way they don't have to, send somebody down or DFA Jahmai Jones or somebody to get Story onto this roster. To tag onto that with Moonslav's question, whenever he is called up, who will be better at defense at shortstop, Monasterio or Story? And that's a bit of a loaded question. What does your gut tell you, Maddie?
So there are so many different types of ways to measure defense. You have outs above average, fielding run value, and DRS. And Fangraphs has this nice feature where it lists all of them together. Mm-hmm. So a Monasterio for the season has -2 DRS, -8 outs above average, and a -6 fielding run value. Mm-hmm. Trevor Story has -2 DRS, -3 outs above average, and a -2 fielding run value.
Yeah, when you look at their baseball savant page, it tells a very, very similar story. Monasterio is in the first percentile of outs above average at -12 on savant. The only other shortstop that I can think off the top of my head that is in that same ballpark with him is CJ Abrams. And that's because I had CJ highlighted as somebody who I was very interested in the Red Sox acquiring. And then his arm strength is in the 13th percentile at 78.3. And his fielding run value per savant is a -9. When we look at Trevor's Story, it's not good, but it's better. Trevor Story's range, outs above average per savant, is in the 19th percentile at a -3, and his arm strength is in the 18th percentile to 79.4. That is just about a mile per hour faster than Monasterio, and one of the biggest knocks against Story has been his arm strength from short. I think what they're going to do is Trevor Story will get the lion's share of starts at shortstop, and Monasterio will move into a platoon role with Anthony Siegler at second.
I could see that.
I don't think that that's the correct call, but I think that Monasterio's bat, and I know he didn't hit yesterday in the Sunday game, and he hasn't really hit tonight either. Monasterio's bat is too good right now. He's one of the best qualified hitters in the sport for the month of July. He doesn't strike out much. Well, his strikeout rate, he's in the 51st percentile, but his whiff rate is in the 81st percentile. His chase rate is in the 76th percentile. His launch angle sweet spot percentage is in the 96th percentile, and his current expected WOBA is 373. So, 377. It topped out at 387. Yeah, I think you've got to find a way to keep his bat going, even if he's not getting everyday shortstop reps once Story is back. But I do think that they'll go Story primarily at short, and Mona will move into a weird platoon at second with Siegler.
And I'm looking at his second base stats too. I mean, it's -2 across for DRS, outs above average. Then why am I abbreviating summon then? Anyway, and fielding right value. But I mean, he also has 3 options, whereas Sogard only has 2, and I'm a huge Sogard fan. I've been upset on here, but Sogard's defense, I mean, is a little better than Monasterio's. So you could make a case to keep Sogard on the roster over Andy.
Yeah, I think things are going to get really interesting tomorrow when Adley is taken off the IL, or today when you're listening to this, when this comes out. If you're not listening to it on Tuesday. And we'll get into the Adley conversation here in just a little bit. But, you know, it's tough because Monasterio has been with the club since opening day. He made the opening day roster. Siegler, I really think you can't demote Siegler at this point. I know he's not hitting the best right now, but his attitude his attitude, the vibes that he brings, I think are important. You've already sent Romy down. You don't have, a lot of options unless you do DFA Jahmai Jones, which is a possibility. But since coming over from Detroit, he has been really, really good. Jake Rogers has been really good since landing here from Baltimore. So I think it's a very tough conversation that Craig's going to have with a lot of people. And I wonder how much input Chad Tracy's going to have on that. Because obviously, like, Tracy has coached a lot of these guys in AAA, but he's outside of a rehab stint. He's never coached Trevor Story. And then he's really never coached Andruw Monasterio either. So it makes you wonder. I don't know. It's going to be really, really interesting, and there are a lot of tough decisions to make as we kind of get through. We're here in early August right now, early to mid-August. By the end of the month, I'm sure that they're going to be looking at that expanded roster and wishing that it expanded a little more, because I anticipate them using the expanded slot on a pitcher. It's typically what most clubs do. So I don't see them carrying Sogard, Monasterio, Siegler, Story, Jones. Like, I don't see a path forward there. But stranger things have happened, and we'll see kind of how Craig approaches that. Getting into MVP's other questions. His first one I think is interesting. He said, if the Red Sox were out of playoff contention, would they have let Tolley pitch longer in his 14 strikeout performance on Friday? What's your take on that?
No.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Even if
Yeah,
you're out of the playoff contention, like he's a rookie and he's blown past his innings that he's ever pitched professionally.
Yeah, Crochet had a little more experience, but they saw what happened to him this year when another hard throwing lefty, and they should be cautious.
Yeah, and I think that Tolle is, and we've talked about this. I think it was MVP who asked this a few episodes ago. I think that Tolle is likely in line, probably next in line for an extension. And I think that they would want him to pitch the first year of that extension healthy. And so, no, I don't think they'd have left him out there. Things were starting to tick down in that performance. That being said, it was one of the best pitching performances I've seen in quite some time. Peyton Tolle is a dog. He is going to be an ace, hopefully, for this team. I don't see any scenario where they trade him. I don't think there's any trade that makes sense. I think that if there is an untouchable name, it's Peyton Tolle. That's not Garrett Crochet. I think that there's trades out there that you could entertain a Roman Anthony swap for. But Tolle, I don't think there's really anything out there unless you're talking Skeens.
I wouldn't be afraid to move him for Elly De La Cruz.
See, I think Elly is kind of my Roman spot. I think that's where that conversation, well, from what has been reported at the trade deadline, that is where the conversation started, is they wanted Roman, Arias, and Tolle minimum for Elly De La Cruz. I would hold on. I would do everything I could to hold on to Tolle in that trade. I think if you're trading Tolle, you should be trading Tolle for an ace caliber pitcher. Is the only scenario I would ever entertain is the only scenario I would entertain trading him for right now. Roman, like I said, I think that a deal with Elly De La Cruz, you could see that. If Paul Taboni was willing to listen on James Wood, I think that you would entertain that pretty heavily. I like James Wood a lot.
I like James Wood too. His mom's a great follow on Twitter.
Oh, she's fantastic. Yes. She is so good. Yeah, that's a conversation I would have as well if Taboni was willing to listen on Wood. Roman wouldn't be off the table for me. Now, I'm not the one making that call, so it's not up to me. But yeah, to get back to your question, MVP, no, I don't think that they'd have left him in any longer, because with all like the sabermetrics and everything, and they know far more than we do about where his body is actually at right now, and I don't think they'd have pushed it any more than what they pushed it. I think that in the playoffs or out of the playoffs, if they wanted him to pitch more, he'd have pitched more. He was doing so well that night, and the A's just had nothing for him. His next question takes the dig at Ryan Watson. As we remember from a couple episodes ago, MVP is not the biggest Ryan Watson fan. And luckily for MVP, Ryan Watson is no longer on this organization. So the Sox finally did the right thing and got the Ryan Watson stink off the roster. Do you think that the Sox are kicking themselves a little for being so left-handed heavy in their acquisitions? Instead of calling up Gamboa, Rivera, or Santiago, they called up Martinez and Burgos. I think that's an interesting question. Craig obviously likes his big body lefties, but he also likes his short king lefties in Ranger Suarez. So I don't know if he's kicking himself for being left-handed focused, but I think that's just to kind of match what Breslow wanted to do in his pitching lab with Bailey. And I think Bailey's got a heavy hand in helping decide who comes in and who goes out. So I don't necessarily think that they're kicking themselves a little bit, but I think that they are choosing to play it maybe a little safer right now, knowing the A's had a pretty right-handed, or the A's could be okay going against, somebody like Burgos, who doesn't have really any MLB experience. And so you give him that and you trust him to go out and pitch 3 innings back to back. That's huge. He should be given his flowers for that. And then he was immediately sent back down to Worcester. I don't know. I don't think they're kicking themselves for it, but I do wonder what their approach when we do have an off season will be when it comes to pitchers.
Yeah, that's the one thing whenever they play the Yankees in the playoffs, the Yankees hit lefties really well.
Yeah.
And that I worry about that. But that's, it's down the road.
Yeah, that's the end of September and October's problem. That being said, obviously you've got some potential acquisitions that could happen between now and then. You've got players that are exercising their upward mobility clauses with clubs. Veteran players who are not on the 40-man roster can still be traded between organizations right now. So you've got some options to potentially add some right-handed depth to the bullpen. We talked about him on the last episode. I do legitimately think that you're going to get Tanner Houck back. Probably sooner rather than later. He's throwing multiple bullpens a week right now, and he's up to like 45-ish pitches per bullpen. That is a right-handed option out that will be coming out of the bullpen. And once Crochet comes back, somebody has to move to the pen. I know Sandoval's left-handed, so he doesn't quite solve that problem, but I think a lefty Sandoval coming out of the pen. That's provided Crochet starts. There's a lot of talk that he could come out of the pen as well. Tracy said that they would be crazy to not look at that as an option, that if you can get Crochet to contribute in any way, shape, or form to this organization, you're going to do it when it comes to a playoff push. So maybe Crochet goes to the pen. Bayo has been bullpen Bayo. Incredible. We've got a righty there. Greg Weissert will be back up at some point. He does have to spend his 15 days down with the Red Sox, unless there is an injury, which we obviously hope that doesn't happen. But I do think that you have some right-handed options that will make a postseason a little more palatable as we approach that point. But yeah, Ryan Watson's gone. He's an angel now. And that just kind of feels right.
Yeah, he's been sent to the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. To hang out with his new buddy, Vaughn Grissom.
And I pulled this up for the season. So there have been 8 lefty relievers per Fangraphs for the season, and then 11 righties out of the pen.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see those splits as the season continues. Mm-hmm. Especially, you had Moran come out tonight. The Red Sox did just lose. Got Duran to third, but was unable to get him home in the top of the 9th there in Toronto. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't think this is the start of a skid. I don't think that this team has that in them like that. And they know that reinforcements are coming soon. So I'm really curious to see how they respond tomorrow against Cease. Tyon, they should have been able to tag Tyon for multiple runs tonight. So it looks like the offense might just be going through a little bit of a cold spell.
I wouldn't be too concerned about this. They play the Pirates over the weekend, and will they be seeing Skeens during the series?
Last I looked, they didn't have probables that far out. But we can maybe make some guesses. Let's see.
Play today.
Yeah. No, Skeens throws tomorrow. So you could get him Sunday. Skeens has also not been very good as of late. Now, obviously, it's not going to be difficult for him to get back on the horse, but I think there are some potential injury questions surrounding him because he's lost velo on his fastball over his last 6 starts, I think. I don't think he's thrown in the triple digits in at least 4 starts. So there is some potential concern with skiing. So yeah, it looks like unless weird things happen, which is always possible with the game of baseball, we should be. Oh, the Pirates haven't even named a starter for Wednesday. Yeah, we should line up with skiing Sunday, which means Jones either Friday or Saturday. So it'll be interesting. But the Pirates, I mean, that's not going to be tough. Like, I kind of hate to be that way, but it's not. And then after this series with the Pirates, they've got Miami. And then in Miami has been on a pretty big downward slide for quite some time. And then they've got 4 against the Yankees, don't they?
They also have the Giants and Diamondbacks sandwiched between the Pirates. And then the following week, Devers reunion and Meyer.
Yes, everybody is clamoring for the Marcelo Meyer reunion. That picture that the Giants posted of Devers and Meyer hugging is like old teammates reunited. Devers has no idea who Marcelo Myers is.
He's never seen that man before.
Just absolutely Marcel, they're like, hey, you got to hug this guy for this picture. And Marcelo's like, oh, cool, it's Raffy. And Raffy's like, who's this?
Who are you?
So the last question that MVP has starts it off saying that he knows that it sounds like an Alex question because it's about Jarren Duran. But it's actually a Maddie question, which means that it's stats-based. It says, what is going on with the quality of contact for Jarren Duran? He's either cranking a home run or not doing anything with the ball. It's not just bad BABIP luck, right?
Duran has one of the worst BABIPs in the league.
One of the worst batting averages.
But the average, hey, we don't believe in average anymore.
I do when it comes to 16.
Only when it comes to Jarren Duran. I've said this before on here. He has a really low squared up rate, which, I mean, I don't want to get too into the weeds with this, but I'm looking at MLB's definition where it says, quote unquote, how much exit velocity did you get as a share of how much exit velocity was possible based on the swing speed and the speed of the pitch. So if you look on Jarren Duran's Savant page, he has a pretty decent bat speed. It's 75 miles per hour in the 83rd percentile. But he's always had a lot of swing and miss stuff in his game. And when you combine the terrible plate discipline with terrible bat control, you get him. And both of those problems feed into the next one. Since he chases or whips a lot and he rarely squares up his swing, and then nobody throws him strikes, so he presses too hard. For example, last Friday on the 31st versus the Dodgers in the top of the 4th, Duran hit a leadoff single off an 88.1 mile per hour cutter thrown by the Dodgers pitcher Cole Irvin. Thanks to a proxy formula from Ben Clemens of Fangraphs, you can find out squared up percentage, which is exit velocity divided by bat speed times 1.23 plus 0.2116 times the pitch speed. So for that single, he posted a 75 mile per hour bat speed and a 72.2 mile per hour exit velocity. So that resulted in a 65% squared up swing. And to meet MLB's definition of a squared up swing, it has to be at least 80%. So he was well under that threshold. And the maximum possible exit velocity on Irvin's pitch was roughly 112.6 miles per hour. So Duran just doesn't really maximize contact enough. And you can see that in his expected stats then too.
Yeah. It's well documented my opinions on Jarren Duran. Whitlock left a fastball in the middle of the plate in that Sunday game against the A's. The ball that Duran took the weirdest looping route to get to there in left field had an 80% catch probability. And for as much as I love Lou Merlone, he's kind of carrying some water for Duran right now. If you go on his Twitter page, he's there's no way that's 80% in Fenway. At Fenway, that's not going to be an 80% catchable ball. 80% of guys don't make that play. But you expect Jarren Duran, who's played the majority of his big league career in left field at Fenway, to make that play at least 80% of the time. I know that's a defensive metric, and he's been good. He's been really good on defense for the most part this year. He will probably be in the Gold Glove conversation for AL left fielder. I do think that it's very interesting that the Red Sox could have up to 5 Gold Glovers this year. With him, Rafaela, Abreu, Durbin, and Contreras. These couple of throws over these last 2 days,
Ranger.
Yes, Ranger for the pitching Gold Glove. So potentially 6 with Ranger. Obviously, Willson has had a couple of defensive miscues these last couple of days. I don't think that's anything to be too worried about, and I don't think it's going to take him out of that consideration. But should it keep up, then you could see Willson fall out of that conversation. I don't know if there's another AL pitcher who would even be in the conversation with Ranger.
Max Fried usually is good with defense, but is he still injured?
He's back now, but it's fairly recent.
Okay, so he might not have enough. Well, he won't have enough time. So I'd say my money's on Ranger.
Yeah, I would think so. If I was playing those markets, Ranger would be my pick for sure. The last question is from Noten. It's very simple. It says, is Campbell back on the radar?
He's been tearing it up in Worcester.
He's been playing really, really well. Obviously, he's not a second baseman anymore. I think at least to most people, he's been playing in the outfield. He's still listed as a second baseman on Prospect Savant. But when you look at his numbers, his walk rate is still incredibly high. He's 15.7% walk rate. His strikeout rate is not great. It's at 29.1. It had been up to almost a 34 at some point, though. He's brought it down considerably. He's hitting 242 on the season, 5 homers, 59 walks, 109 strikeouts. Let's see. Let's get his average exit velo is 88.8. His hard hits 42.2. He's not an opposite guy at all. He's very much a pull guy, and being left-handed, he's right-handed. So that would work in his favor should he get called back up. I don't think he's on the radar for anybody in the organization right now, though. Obviously, the outfield picture is convoluted, and it will only get more convoluted when Roman comes back. With Story coming back, the infield picture gets very convoluted, as we were just talking about a minute ago. I don't think that you really have a plan for Kristian Campbell. he'll be kind of stuck in no man's land when it comes to the lockout because he is on the 40-man, so he will not be able to report to minor league camp. So hopefully he doesn't lose too much time. Obviously, these guys will work out together, but they won't be able to do team workouts and workouts guided by people within the organization. So I think that their hope for him is that he shows up next year whenever they do have big league spring training, be that in May or June or August, and hope that he's competing for a spot. But I don't think he's on the radar this season, even though if he keeps tearing it up and the offense does slump for 5-6 games, that call for him to get called up is going to become louder. And then it becomes, would you rather take a chance on him over a guy like Jarren Duran? Campbell is a bit of an unknown at this point, whereas what you're getting with Duran, and it's going to be Mendoza level offense. Whereas Campbell at least has a ceiling of a 250 to 280 hitter.
More pop, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. Jarren's got more home runs this year. But I think that if you get Campbell up there, I think that's a very interesting conversation. And that's one that maybe can take I might take a look at for the website just to kind of see. But
I think Campbell kind of has the same issue with Duran, though, where they just swing the bat so hard and they commit so early that they can't adjust or pull back when necessary. And
yes.
When Campbell was up briefly last year, I remember he'd always be hitting either the umpire or the catcher.
Yes. Yes. Maybe if Roman has a setback, I think that there would have to be multiple dominoes that fall here for Campbell to be on the radar, but as it currently stands, no. Could he be? Yeah, eventually. But I think their hope for him is next season to be kind of the big, or at least part of the outfield conversation. And if they think they could get him to play second base, then maybe the second base conversation. But I think that at least for those of us here at Talk Sox, we're all pretty well out on him as a second baseman.
Yeah, the only avenue to him joining the team, I think, would be in the outfield. But the team just has so many outfielders.
Yeah, it's not a great situation for him. That contract extension that he signed, while great for him, I'm all for players getting paid. Not being able to trade Duran is going to be the biggest knock against Craig Breslow, and I've said that before. But the Campbell extension is also going to not be a great thing for him, just because Campbell's virtually untradeable right now because of the money that he's making. Even though it's not a lot of money, teams aren't willing to even entertain it right now because of how little he's given the big league club.
At least we have Adley.
Yes, and we will get to Adley. That'll be must-see TV if you're listening to this on Tuesday. Tonight against the Blue Jays, Adley will be more than likely making his Red Sox debut. But yes, we do also get Dylan Cease tomorrow. So also not fun. But that does sort of bring us to some injury updates with the club. Obviously, Adley Rutschman, newly acquired, went on a rehab assignment over the weekend with the Worcester Red Sox. He caught in Friday's game, caught 5 innings. He DH'd in Saturday's game. I don't know about Sunday, but I know that he did report to Boston to travel with the team Sunday evening Flew to Toronto with them, took on the field BP today from both the right and left sides. The videos of it are pretty good. He was smoking some baseballs, and the expectation is that he will be activated tomorrow to catch Patrick Sandoval. He did catch Sandoval's bullpen today, so there is some familiarity there, which is great. Outside of Adley, the biggest news from over the weekend was that Garrett Crochet is throwing now. The last update that we had was that he was throwing plyometric balls, but had not been cleared to throw baseballs yet. He's now throwing from 40 to 60 feet. And I think they're ramping up, hopefully, for some bullpens within the next couple of weeks. As we talked about earlier, Tanner Houck is throwing multiple bullpens a week, up to 45, 50-ish pitches. So we should expect to see his rehab assignment start, I would assume, in the next week or so, probably. And the big one, Roman Anthony is now hitting off a pitching machine. He's hitting velocity, which is great. He was taking dry swings early last week on back-to-back days and reported no pain, we assume. And then he was taking swings off a tee, and then they upgraded him to a machine. So at this point, it is purely getting him ramped up. He has still been participating in fielding activities down in Fort Myers. So that aspect of his game will be perfectly fine once he gets back, but he will need some time on a rehab assignment to find his swing again. I don't anticipate that taking the full 20 days. I don't think that he'll let that take the full 20 days. I think that he'll kind of force that issue. But potentially you're looking at an early to mid-September activation of Roman Anthony.
Yeah, I have an article from the Boston Herald put up. The next thing that he would be doing in his rehab progression would be hitting off a traject machine to help him get ramped up. So,
yeah.
And they have one down in Fort Myers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he may be doing that already, and we just we haven't heard about it yet. It'll be really, I think these next couple of days will be really, really interesting to kind of pay attention to the Anthony news. But yeah, that's kind of a quick overview of the injury roundup. Obviously, Story is preparing to come back. We talked about that. We don't really know a whole lot there at the moment. I think Kutter Crawford is throwing bullpens as well, which is another potential right-handed option out of the bullpen should they need to. The great thing, going back to the expanded roster question, is that like you can still kind of play with the optioning some players until the AAA season is over. And so you can make that work to the best of your ability for a little while once those rosters do expand. The next thing that we've got here on the rundown is very interesting. It happened Saturday in that game against the A's. Willson Contreras was booed quite loudly by the crowd at Fenway Park when he did not run out. I had a show. I was playing music during the game on Saturday. Was it a fly ball or was it it was a fly ball, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And there was no hustle out of the box. He didn't even make the production of still running through the bag. He kind of lightly jogged out of the box and then just veered right to the dugout. And those in attendance at Fenway had a problem with it. I saw the video of it later. It was quite loud.
It was a ground out. Sorry, not a fly.
It was a ground. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, Willson did not talk with the media, which some media members are starting to take umbrage with. Specifically, Sean McAdam has a piece about it.
Say, gee, I wonder who. But
yeah. And I love Sean. He's a very well respected voice in Red Sox media circles. And so I do kind of get where he's coming from because Willson is seen as a leader on this team, but I don't think this is maybe the right situation to hold his feet to the fire, especially when Chad Tracy came out in defense of Willson and said that it was something that was talked about before the game. Willson went into that game on Saturday not at 100%. I still don't think he's at 100%, and I wonder if he had a mild concussion after he got hit in the head in that Dodgers series because he just hasn't looked right since then.
On top of that, he's dealing with what is it, strep throat, and that can be a pain.
Yeah. And he had fouled a ball off his foot and was dealing with that. Like, he's got a lot of ailments going on, and so he talked to Tracy before the game and was like, "Hey, like I'll play, but I'm not 100%." And Tracy told him, "Take off when you need to take off. Like, if you've got a lazy ground or a lazy pop fly, you don't have to run it out." Like, I'm sure he didn't say that, but he made it very clear that Willson was to protect Willson. Obviously, the fans in attendance don't know that. They just see Willson not hustling, and then you get the context of it later. I think Willson has a right to be pissed about it, though. Like, he has been the dirt dog for this team, him and Durbin, and everybody there should have known that he hasn't played the last 2 games because he was sick, and you just or last 3 games because he was sick. And so you just kind of have to take what he did with a grain of salt. Obviously, like if the ball is overthrown there, it's easier to recover and still get him out at first. But we're talking about professional baseball players here. Out of 100 times, that might happen once, maybe twice. So those are odds that you roll with. Yeah. If Trevor Story was the one at short, it could happen 5 or 6 times a game. I had no problems with it when I rewatched the video, having just the basic knowledge that I have of Willson's situation right now. I think we probably agree here. I think that the people at Fenway kind of overreacted, and hopefully they feel a little bad about it.
He usually doesn't do that. He's dealing with a lot right now.
Yeah.
And I'm more annoyed, I guess, with the fan base. Just it reminded me of something that how do I put? I don't know. I'm like a brain dead Phillies fan would have done. And this is Boston. I think the fan base can treat their fans a little, or not their fans, their players a little better than that.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Obviously Willson will kind of take it in stride, and he's probably not forgotten about it, but he's cooled off from it. I do hope that when the team does get back to Boston, that I'm not saying give him a standing ovation or anything like that, but just kind of a warm welcome for him back, I think would probably fully smooth the potential turbulent waters that Willson Contreras is kind of floating in right now. And hopefully feels better by the time they're back in Boston. And he has hit at least 1 home run so he can tie his career high in home runs, because we're just waiting for that. He's still barely on pace for 30. I would love to see him get a 30 home run season, his first season in Boston. Not that this is on the rundown, but we're talking about Willson. And it just kind of popped into my head. Do you think that he has any shot at the Hall of Fame when he does hang up his cleats?
Ooh. Let me pull up his baseball reference page. That's a really good question.
It's something, and I haven't looked up his BREF at all. So I can't tell you. I can't tell you if I think that he has a case based on that. I haven't done the immaculate grid today. I need to do that before I go to bed.
He only has, well, this isn't the end all be all. I mean, he's sitting on 195 home runs across 11 seasons.
Yeah.
I would expect a little more from a dude who is in conversation to be elected into the Hall.
Agreed. I think that had he stuck at catcher, it's an easier conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm happy that he didn't. I think that he's played very, very well at first, and will probably play well at first through the end of his career, which will hopefully be in Boston. But I do think that obviously the voting pool for the Hall of Fame is getting younger, and we're starting to see those trends in the current voting. Like, I mean, obviously, like the guys who got in this year were going to get in. Andruw Jones, like, yes, like that should have been a no-brainer. But it does make me wonder that 10 years. Let's say he plays for 3 more years, so we're looking at potentially retirement in 29 or 30. Let's say that by 39 or 40, you do have a younger generation of Hall of Fame voters in the Baseball Writers Association. I think that you could potentially make a case for him. And not that we're talking about him at all, but I think that younger trend in voters over these next few years is what is going to keep Pedroia kind of like floating around. And potentially, I have a weird hair hanging off my beard, so if you're watching this, that's what's going on. I don't. It was like glinting in the light. It was weird. But I think that Pedroia has a shot to get in. I think Pedroia is a Hall of Famer. I understand that Manny Machado ended his career, and that's why he may not get in.
Machado's having a really bad season, so
yes,
there's that.
And I feel like the Pedroia curse has shifted to Manny Machado, and I'm okay with that. I think had Petey played another 3 years, he was a lock to get in. Probably not a first ballot, but a lock to get in. I think he's got a chance. I would love to see it. I've never been to Cooperstown. If Petey gets in, I think that might be a time when I try to go. And because I think that would just be incredible. But I think that as the voting pool gears younger and younger, I won't say that I think Willson doesn't have a chance to get in. But I think it's an interesting conversation. It'll be interesting to watch over these next few years to see what those trends indicate, and if that tells us that maybe the voting parameters for some people are changing.
Yeah, well, I'd be curious to see his Jaws score.
Yeah.
Just how that plays. In my head, Pedroia is a Hall of Famer. But,
right.
Yeah, but I know other people outside of Boston just don't think that way.
But I think that he does have enough respect amongst the writers group that he's at least going to hang out on the ballot for quite some time. And realistically, if we look at these upcoming classes, they're
not good.
I mean, you have your shoe-ins like Pujols and Molina and Wainwright that are coming up here in the next few years. Those will Wainwright should be a first ballot, in my opinion, as a non-Cardinals fan. I think that Wainwright should be a first ballot. I don't know that he will be. Pujols, Molina, obviously, first ballot guys. But outside of that, you really don't have super strong classes, and that's also going to work in Pedroia's favor because I think that he'll get some down ballot votes that might trend him close enough to hit that threshold.
He gets compared a lot to Chase Utley, which
I
hate Chase Utley. He is a jerk. I can't say that word on this podcast, but just a terrible person. And he only played in 400, roughly 400 more games than Pedroia. But Pedroia's stats come he only had 80 more hits than Pedroia.
Yeah.
So if Pedroia had a longer career, he would have eclipsed, or he just would have surpassed him.
I think Utley probably gets in the next 2 to 3 years, based on the trends. I also hate Chase Utley, just because I do. I don't have a strong reason for it. Obviously, I haven't lived in the Philadelphia area, so that I'm sure you've got much stronger reasons than I do to hate Chase Utley. But my opinion has been since day one that if Chase Utley gets in the Hall, there is no reason Dustin Pedroia should not also be in the Hall.
Mm-hmm. And yet Pedroia never ruined any dude's career.
Yeah. I do hope that if Pedroia goes in the Hall, that they let David Ortiz introduce him as Pee Wee.
Oh, that'd be so.
That is one of I have that video saved on every platform of Pedroia telling that story that Ortiz thought that Pedroia's real name was Pee Wee. But if you've never seen it, it's just phenomenal. David talks about it too.
And then there's that old commercial, like, "Who are you?" Like, I've
yeah,
been
yeah, it just so good. But yeah, if Utley can get in, Pedroia should get in as well. The last thing we've got on the rundown, and I kind of stuck it last because I think that I kind of saw the way the game was going. And so I figured this would be how we could kind of end this episode on a high note after dropping 3 games in a row. Once Adley is activated tomorrow, today, 3 days ago, depending on when you're listening to this, where do you think that he hits in this lineup? And what changes to other guys because we talked about another name that you think should maybe change too. So where should Adley hit and what changes could necessitate that?
I've been saying Duran should be batting leadoff for a bit now.
Okay.
Well, to myself, I'm not on this pod. But just he's been one of the best hitters in baseball since the beginning of June, and he doesn't strike out a lot. Just he's fast too. So that's what you want from a leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
And the team really hasn't had a leadoff hitter since it was supposed to be Roman, and then
well, I mean, even then, like, Roman has such a natural power.
He shouldn't be leading off.
That he shouldn't. Yeah. He's a good leadoff hitter, but he shouldn't be leading off. No.
Yeah, Duran. Since his turnaround, he seems like a good fit for that. So then, where do you put Adley? It also depends on the pitcher, I would say.
Yeah.
Their handedness. So if he's batting at 5th,
I think 5th probably makes the most sense. I would move Cedon back to 2nd in the order there. I'd keep Wilyer 3rd. So, like, let's say it's Duran 1, Cedon 2, Wilyer 3, Willson 4, Adley 5. I'd probably go Siegler 6. No, I go Massa 6. Massa 6 at DH. Siegler 7th. Duran 8th. Monasterio 9th. And I would keep Story 9th too. I don't think that changes if that's Trevor Story at short. Unless you want to put Duran 9th to give you, quote, 2 leadoff hitters in certain innings. And get his speed potentially in play, but Duran doesn't hit unless there's guys in front of him. So that's probably how I would stack that order if we're moving Duran to the leadoff spot. I think that's what I do. I go Duran, Seti, Wilyer, Willson, Adley, Massa, Siegler, Duran, Mona.
Yeah, I just wonder.
And then Roman comes back, and we have to have a whole new conversation.
How do you think Story would handle being put towards the bottom of the lineup?
I think so. Did you read his comments after the trade deadline?
Where he said he was like happy to like still be on the team.
Yeah, and he realized that they're looking for a shortstop, and Story sees the writing on the wall. I think that if Craig really wants to put his money where his mouth is, Trevor Story's not on this team, be that from a DFA or whatever next season. Eat the money and move on. Because you're not going to get anybody to trade for him unless you send him back to Colorado for peanuts, probably, to go be a veteran leader back there. Maybe the Angels. I don't know how Taboni feels about. I mean, maybe the Reds. Maybe I don't even know who the GM of the Reds is, but maybe he loves. Yeah. Maybe he loves aging shortstops with below league average arms. Who knows? And that's why he wants to trade us Ellie De La Cruz, because he's the opposite of that. But I think that Story has to realize that his offensive production has been so far in the toilet that he's lucky to be hitting once he's healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
He is kind of a team first guy too. So I think that if it was just explained to him, like, hey, like you've got to hit 8th or 9th because that's the only, we got 2 spots. Like you hit 8th or 9th or you don't hit. Those are your options.
Yeah. I think Tracy.
That's a conversation I have with my 6-year-old. Buddy, I've got 2 options for you. One of them is you do what I ask, and the other one is you get in trouble. Which one do you want to do? And I think you could have a very similar conversation with Trevor Story. Just sit him down and go, look here, bud. Either you're going to hit 8th or 9th, or you're not going to hit.
Oh. No.
And to be honest, he's not going to hit at 8th or 9th either. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah, and Tracy also, I don't think, is predisposed to making him happy, unlike Cora.
Yeah, I do think that I love Alex Cora. I want Alex Cora to take over for Craig Breslow right now, still. But Cora would placate Trevor Story in the worst way, and Tracy doesn't have that attachment to him. Now we're seeing it with Duran, in a very similar. You could have almost a parallel conversation about Tracy and Duran that you've had with Story and Cora. Because I think with most other managers, Duran wouldn't be starting every day in left field just because he's an ineffective offensive player. But once again, that's a different conversation. Yeah, I think you do. You just tell you got to tell Trevor, like, you're hitting here or you're not playing. Those are the 2. We have 2 true outcomes. But yeah, it's a very interesting conversation. It becomes even more convoluted when Roman comes back, because part of me thinks that Roman will be DH'd mostly. Which I don't agree with, because Massa has settled in so well at DH that I think that you should play him in left field over Duran, because Duran's defense does not make up for his lack of offense. But in the event Roman does that and doesn't hit, it's a drastically different conversation. Not from here, but from the Duran fanboys and girls all over social media who, if you tweet, man, Duran should have made that catch,
they will find you, because they will find you.
Can I be honest? I think they found Jarren's burner.
Well, you're saying that like he's posing as a teenage girl.
Or
maybe a boy.
Let me find this again. Now, to also be honest, this account is using words that I don't think Jarren Duran knows. But and I commented that on one of them. Was it? I'm trying to remember who posted the screenshot. No, it wasn't her. If I can't find it quickly, I'll drop it. But it was essentially, here we go. Maybe. The account has now been suspended. Oh man. and I can't find it. But it was essentially like any post yesterday, last night that mentioned how the loss could even potentially have something to do with Jarren Duran. We're talking like paragraphs of defense of this man and how, well, what about bum ass Willson Contreras missing that throw and Garrett Whitlock leaving a pitch down the middle and blah, 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 blah. And I forget what the word is that I was clued in on, that I was like, I don't think that he knows this word. But so it's got to be the account that's suspended because my tweet is gone. My reply is gone.
Dang it.
But somebody had a screenshot of some of them, and I don't remember who it was. But man, and I think like we all assume that like most of these guys probably have burners that they like surf around on, and obviously like Kevin Durant's the big one. Like he's been found out with like 20 different burner accounts. But I mean, would it shock you if Jarren Duran has a burner Twitter where he defends himself?
Yes, at the same time, I feel like you could just pick up the way a baseball player speaks and somebody on Twitter. I think actually I don't know, because their vocabulary would be, there's a lot of overlap there.
You think Jarren Duran's not using AI? As a teacher, I can tell you that if I had Jarren Duran in class, I would run everything that he ever turned in through AI, just based on how much of a meathead he is.
He probably has his AI write him his daily macros.
There are good uses for AI. But I fully believe that Jarren Duran has a burner Twitter account that he is defending himself on that uses AI to tweet for him. That uses AI to write his tweets. So you can't say that sounds like him.
Counterpoint, is he even smart enough to set up a Twitter account and link it to some type of LLM?
No, I don't think that he's doing that. I think that he is like in GPT and is like, how should I say that Jarren Duran is a good baseball player? Like that this wasn't Jarren Duran's fault, and copy and pasting. That's what I think is happening.
Okay.
I think that the bar to clear is in hell, and he's just stepped over it.
Well, it wouldn't shock me. I think some of the guys are definitely on TikTok. I want to say the younger ones. And he's not like them though.
No, but it was back before Teal got traded, obviously before Marcelo got traded. They did an interview with the Section 10 guys, and it was when they were in Portland with the Sea Dogs, and they're like, hey, there's not a whole lot to do around here, so what do you do? And they were like, TikTok. Like, we go out to eat and we watch TikToks together. Like, that's about it. So, I mean, that's just it's the nature of what's popular with people in that demographic. I have to imagine that Duran is on TikTok in some way, shape, or form, because if you remember last season, there were like super edits of Duran like flexing and taking BP with a sleeveless shirt on, and he's gonna eat that up.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm not that active on TikTok anymore, but when I was, I saw some Red Sox stuff, including our clips from our podcast. Then I had to
that's really jarring when you're looking through like YouTube shorts and then all of a sudden
and you see yourself. No, it's terrifying. Like, oh, I feel like I'm in the Matrix. But yeah, I saw a lot of Jarren Duran edits on and the algorithm eats him up. I'd say the TikTok algorithm, I wouldn't touch it with like a 200-foot pole. But
and I mean,
it likes his muscles, I guess. Like a lot of teenage girls and men.
Well, and my wife is not a teenage girl, but he is by far her favorite player because he is attractive. Like, And that just
Yeah.
it is what it is. And we make jokes about it, like, but I mean, she's no bones about it. She loves Jarren Duran because Jarren Duran is nice looking.
Yeah.
And when he does good things when she's watching the game, she's like, "What about that?" And I'm like, "It just helps his trade value, babe. That's all that is."
Yeah, my younger sister is dating a woman, but she has like a huge crush on Jarren Duran, and I'm
Yeah.
he has some sort of appeal, but
Yeah.
well,
So it's I don't know.
There's Adley now to take his place to appeal to the young women and men. Any men too are welcome to.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Was it that picture like from his first day in the dugout where he's just like making dreamy eyes at the camera? Yeah. Adley's gonna do numbers in Boston now that he's out of Baltimore. I think I said in our chat, like, I need an Adley jersey, I need a Willier jersey, and I need a Tully jersey at some point before the end of the year.
I'm waiting for the Adley City Connect to drop.
Yeah. Speaking of City Connects, it looks like the yellows are gone.
From the MLB shop?
No, just like from the rotation. They played in the home whites on Saturday. They've played in the home whites for the last few Saturdays they've been at home. Steve Peralt from Section 10 has some scoops with this. He's a big Jersey guy. He said on the most recent episode that it has been told to him that they may be officially done. That's not his exact wording, but that's essentially what he's saying. And I wouldn't hate to see the Reds come back. I like the Reds. Not a big fan of the Navies, but I like the red jerseys.
I like the Reds. The Navy, I'll always think of the 2018 World Series and Chris Sale.
Correct, yes.
Right, yeah. That's it. But I like the Reds. I have a Dave Ortiz red.
And my wife has a poppy red jersey that she wears to games, so she will be ecstatic if those games come back. And I want to see the Reds on the road. I want them to take the place of the Navies. Yeah. Home needs to be white or green if they're getting rid of the yellows.
I wonder if that was also a Cora thing. The holdover of the
wasn't the like the starting pitchers are supposed to pick was a Cora rule, like what jerseys they wear.
I remember when they were playing poorly the one time. He just and then they started winning in the yellows.
And they didn't take them off for like a week.
They didn't take them off. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it was Saturday because that was the Bennett start. They were like, I think it was Loomer, and it was either Loomer or Middlebrooks was like, typically as a starting pitcher that gets to pick the jerseys, but rookie starting pitchers don't get to do that. And so that to me it was the first time because I had realized they hadn't played at them in a couple Saturdays, but that was the first time I was like, maybe they're gonna kind of phase those out, and then it seems like that might be the case. I like the yellows. I've got a yellow number 11 jersey. Was a Rafael Devers jersey that showed up literally 2 days after he was traded, and then it was a Marcelo Meyer jersey until about a week ago. So it's a nobody jersey right now. So it might just get hung up on the wall at some point. But yeah, it's been talking jerseys with Talk Socks. We didn't even think that we would go there. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how they respond after this 3-game slight skid. Obviously, Adley, I think we've just got confirmation from Tracy that Adley is going to be activated for the game tomorrow, where he will catch Patrick Sandoval. And I think that we'll all be watching that pretty closely, kind of from here on out. Do you have anything, any kind of like a last minute thing? Because we're here at the 1:15 mark, so we probably do need to wrap it up.
Just best of luck to Adley tomorrow, and yeah, we'll all be watching him.
Yeah, I hope he listens to this, and I hope that we inspire him. After we gassed him for being the hottest guy on the team now. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what this team does in response to this skid. I fully believe that they'll win this J series, and I think they should sweep the Pirates, even if they see Skeens on Sunday. I do wonder. I know I said that we needed to go, but I do wonder if this team plays down and up to their opponents too much.
How so?
They're unstoppable when they play first place teams.
Mhm.
Just absolute no nonsense baseball. Then you play very A's style baseball against the A's. The Blue Jays are not a good team this year, and you're playing bad baseball against the Blue Jays. Up until this point, they really haven't played a bad team since the Angels. And that wasn't the cleanest. It was a sweep, but it wasn't the cleanest sweep in the world either. Obviously, the Rocky series is what the Rocky series is. The Nats series, you dropped 2 games to the Nats after a very similar situation to the A's. You throttled them in game 1 and then kind of petered out in games 2 and 3. So I wonder if that is what's going on, is they're playing up and down to their competition. And when it comes to the playoffs, that's great because you're only seeing the top tier teams, but you could go on a decent slide here when you've got the Blue Jays, the Pirates, and the Marlins. So
That's a good point.
I'd like to see them rebound and take this series.
Yeah,
I'd take a split. I don't want to see them lose this series. Let's say that.
I don't want to excuse a skid for games that they could have won, especially yesterday. But they always seem to not play the Blue Jays well.
And we've talked. It's kind of the same thing with the Orioles. Those are the 2 teams, which ironically are in the AL East, that they never seem to match up well with at all.
Yeah, and especially at the Rogers Center too.
Yeah, it's such a funky park.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to go and stay in the hotel room. That I looked it up a few weeks ago. I think it's like $1,000 something a night.
You have to book really far in advance too.
Yeah. But you could go to sleep with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. watching over you on the wall, because that is the player who is on the wallpaper this year, and probably until he no longer plays for the Blue Jays, if I had to guess. But to some of us, that would be very comforting.
Yeah.
To others, nightmare-inducing. But that was just kind of a thought I had, is that maybe the Red Sox are playing up and down to their competition, and that's kind of what's going on right now.
I think that after this weekend, I think it'll be telling if that occurred.
Yeah, if they go through this series with the Jays and then the Pirates and the Marlins, and it's lackluster baseball, even if they win, but it's lackluster baseball, and then they come out gangbusters against the Yankees, we see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that, and we'll be back here next week, potentially with a guest. We're working that out right now. Hopefully, I don't want to give it away because it may not happen, but maybe a guest next week. So stick around. We've got good stuff on the site as always. Check it out. Talk with us in the comments and the forums. We're there all the time. We're posting. My posting in the comments and forums will be going down as I do start school next week. But I will still be as active as I can be. And we'll see you there, and we'll catch you here next week on the Talk Sox podcast. See you, everybody.